Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slaying Dragons. I have joining me today Doug Tedder from Tedder Consulting. Doug, it's always good to see you. I know we've been talking about getting together and doing one of these for a long while, and here we are finally getting together to talk. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah. Oh, it's a pleasure, Mike. I thank you for asking me. And when I got your email the other day saying, "Hey, you want to do the recording?" and I said, "Hey, this is great. So just perfect timing for this." So been looking forward to this.
Yes, well, and we thought kind of we kicked this whole thing off talking a little bit about what we're both planning to do down at Service Management World, which is coming up here in a few weeks. I know you've got a number of things on the agenda, some training that you're going to be teaching, and some sessions you're going to be hosting and imparting wisdom and knowledge. Tell me a little bit about what's on tap for you down at Service Management World, Doug.
Well, I appear to be the bookends of the conference. So I've got the pre-conference training class, as you mentioned. I'll be delivering the Support Center Manager class for HDI, and that's the weekend prior to the conference. The conference actually kicks off on Monday, but I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, and part of the day Monday delivering the Support Center Manager class. And then on the last day of the conference on Wednesday, I'll be on a panel discussion led by Tim McGilbin, talking about getting leadership commitment for success with service management in the digital age. So like I said, I'm the bookends on the conference this year, and there may be a couple of panels I may jump in on. It just kind of depends on what's going on, but I'm excited about it, like I always am. I really look forward to service management world.
Well, and I know the class you're going to be teaching is one of your favorites. So
It
share
is.
with me a little bit about what's who goes to this class. What am I going to learn?
Yeah, it is one of my favorites because the typical attendee of the support center manager class is those newer managers, typically the folks that are transitioning or about to transition or have transitioned from that single contributor now, and they're starting to manage and lead their support center teams. And what I try to do with the class, first of all, it's a great primer on the kinds of nuts and bolts that you need to be good at as a support center or a service desk. But what I try to do is help those managers understand the critical contribution their teams make to every organization. And sometimes they don't get the credit. And so I like to bring in those kinds of insights into how to not only get your team running as effectively and as efficiently as possible, and the right things to measure, but how do you really illustrate the value of what you're doing? I've been around IT for a long time, as you can tell, and support centers, in my opinion, rarely get the credit that they deserve, and it's a shame. And so we talk about those things as well as other kinds of operational and more tactical kinds of things that the support center should be doing, and how to enable those managers to be successful in leading those teams.
That sounds like a blast. I mean, it's something always as a new manager, having trained a manager or two in my lifetime, as you might see.
Yeah.
The it is a challenge. What do I do? Where do I go? And a lot of times you may not have had that opportunity to learn how to be a leader,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, we spend some time talking about leadership as part of this class, and as we know, there is a difference between management and leadership. Management, you're managing the day-to-day execution of tasks, and making sure that you're hitting those kind of deliverables. But many of the support center analysts or service desk analysts look to that manager to be leaders. Inspire them, help them be successful, help them connect the dots between taking that call and strategic outcomes that the support center delivers. And sometimes that get lost. I mean, we get busy, and I get it, right? You and I both have seen some fantastic service desks in our career, and sometimes it just gets lost in the shuffle, that from call to call or contact to contact. And the manager has a critical role to keep that great agent inspired and engaged and doing the good jobs that they're doing. And so we do spend a lot of time talking about leadership as part of this training class.
Well, it's always interesting to me. I hear you talking about what is going to be in that class, and then the panel that you're going to sit on and what they're going to talk about. And I look at like what I'm going to be presenting on, which is actually one of the first presentations on Tuesday, the first big presentation day of the conference.
Yeah.
And what is interesting to me, I'm talking about organizational change management and managing organizational change. And one of the things I talk about when I do this, because it's more of a cultural challenge, understanding your culture as an organization. And with that comes support from leadership being behind the delivery of whatever you're doing, or ultimately it's destined to not go as well as it could. And it's something that is so difficult for people to wrap their heads around. And then managing the organizational change and doing the tactical things that have to happen there for the organizational change not to result in the citizenry rising up with torches and pitchforks and trying to find who was it that was in charge of this thing that everybody thought was a good idea that we don't really like. And it all comes down to kind of that human element.
Yep.
As you were talking about, delivering good service is a human element, human delivery. And we're talking to other humans. We're not AI talking to AI just yet. We're interfacing with other people. And one of the challenges I always see when I talk about organizational change, I've been, delivering and implementing systems for a year or two, or maybe a decade or two, or more. And I see the same things over and over and over again, where things are lost in the translation. But people forget at the very beginning, who are we working with? Other people. What are people most resistant to? Change.
Oh, change scares. Yeah, it's human nature. Change scares
Yep.
people to death because it's unknown, right? And there's a natural resistance. As much as we might be open-minded and embracing, the new things that are coming in. The end of the day, it's just human instinct. We get quite frightened of the unknown.
And as you were talking about it in dealing with managers, there's an interesting thing that I kind of have seen in the dramatic shift. I mean, back in the early days where we both had lots more hair and could stay up past 10 o'clock at night. You know, I've noticed over the years that some of us kind of drift away as things are kind of winding down because we're like, hey, I got to get up tomorrow morning. And, I know how much sleep I need, and you kind of become that adult all of a sudden that you promised yourself you never would be. But one of the things that I've seen is also the shift. That's something I always talk to customers about. Is the shift in the employees, where when you start talking about delivering service desk, we're not talking about picking up the phone and talking to people anymore. It's just we've got multiple different paths that we're communicating in, and we have to be conscious of how some of that goes. Like when your sarcasm doesn't come through as well in text.
No, it does not.
Sometimes people don't figure that out. It's easy to joke on the phone because you can get that voice inflection. If that's a way to take, kind of take that edge off of a phone call that may start out difficult. Where if it's a chat, you maybe have to take a different approach, and that comes from the manager being able to train the people. And I've seen it. I've talked to my oldest son about it. Who's not young anymore. He's almost 30. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, what I'm seeing is people coming behind me is the resistance to picking up the phone. That's not something they're used to having to do. So all of a sudden, this multi-channel capability becomes important. But also communication skills, the verbal communication skills are different. And it's different. And to be able to manage all of that and then managing the organizational change that we as humans, no matter how open-minded we are, do resist that just almost instinctively. How do we manage that? That's some of the things I want to share with folks. We've seen organizations do very successfully, and a lot of it is all comes down to, and it's funny. I've got this one slide that has one big picture on it. It's called communication, and it's
Yeah.
interesting. We look at all of this. This is all about communication. We strip everything away, and we're going through these sessions and talking to people about how to be better communicators.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I talk about in the class, a very similar kind of thing. Amazingly enough, and I think you can confirm this, just because you build it doesn't mean people will show up. And you offer a support center, you offer service management, you offer services or what you think are services. And to us, it just sounds fabulous. Why wouldn't anybody want to take advantage of this? And so that's one of the things that we talk about as part of our training class. The other thing, and you touched on it, we're dealing with so many channels now of interacting with humans. And some of that, to your point, some folks are very comfortable talking on the phone. They want to talk directly to a human verbally. Others would rather interact through a chat mechanism or an email and those kind of things. And the expectation, regardless of the channel, is that it is a similar good quality experience for the end user, whoever that is. I remember back in the day, one of my very early service management implementations, and I tell the story during the class, is when we stood up our service desk, that service desk was behind a locked door. That would never fly today, would it, Mike? Would never fly. But yet that was, we're trying to drive that consistent interface. We're trying to drive that single point of contact. And, we're not going to take an email. If you want to talk to our service desk, you call. And that's how we're going to manage things. And, fast forward a lot of years, that would never fly. Absolutely would never fly. And people, when I tell that story, they start laughing out loud. I laugh out loud now. Yeah.
It does seem with just the way things are today, where so many organizations have or are figuring out how to have a walk-up service desk.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that over and over where some of our larger clients, they have one in every major facility that they have, and they're still doing, we think about it from a service management perspective, they're still doing the tracking of the data, the ticket, as we've called it for 1,000 years. We're still tracking that interaction with the customer, but what so many of them have found is that a mechanism like that, people are much more comfortable because they can look you in the eye. And then two, for a lot of things, they can fix it right here, right now. Look, your laptop the screen's broken. Let me give you a loaner, make that a super simple process. And what we're going to get this in for repair. Bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle. They're out the door. They're back up and running. And there's not it could take 2 days to get something going on.
Right.
And I think about like my kids' college experiences. What I saw with them in college was they had a walk-up service. That's because you couldn't get your Wi-Fi working. Rather than sitting on the phone, and you could go right down to the service desk. They get on there with you, and they go, "Oh, I see what's going on," and be able to help you the problem resolution was much quicker. I remember hearing from my daughter, who's not as much a fan as computers, and she said, "Well, Dad, the problem was the antivirus you put on there is not one of the ones that they allow." I hadn't apparently read the whole letter. I'm like, "It's a really good antivirus," but they gave her an exception because they were like, "No, that's a really really good one, but these are the ones we're equipped for. But we got you set up. You're good." But it's interesting because I was like, "Wow, okay." So she was having a problem. She walked in. They were like, "Okay, we see exactly what's going on. Let us work to solve this." She was very very thrilled, happy. Everything worked out great. But yet that's yet now another channel. How do we manage all of this? And how do we do this? And to the point that you made, in a consistent way, because some of our service desk technicians are phenomenal people, but we may not want to put them in a face-to-face customer sort of situation. Because maybe, and it's like any other role that you have out there. You're going to pick your best players to play certain positions,
Yeah.
and deliver that great service. I'm all excited. I'm like, how much would that class? If Doug give me a free pass to that class, I can go back and audit that. Because it's so interesting to hear that, and then think about how everything all builds on each other. All of these things are all interconnected, and they all come back to that communication. And as much as we want, Skynet to take over for us, it's just not going to. We're going to be communicating with each other, and we have to be learn to be, if we're not already, learn to be better communicators. And be able to effectively do these things. I've got stuff that's in mind that talk exactly to that point. You can't just go, oh, hello, here's the new stuff, use it. It requires some marketing, it requires some cajoling, some giving away some free stuff, getting people to come try it. And a lot of times, once they get a little taste of it, you've done a good job putting something great together. They get a little taste of it, like, wow. And I think back to one little story I always tell. One of our customers wanted to encourage the use of the self-service portal. And one of their big challenges they had was, this is back in the olden days, toner replacements. So people would request a toner replacement. Now that would come through the service desk, because that was all phones at the time, or email, but it was fulfilled by their mail department. So the department that delivered inter-office memos and everything would take those tickets and go, oh, hey, on this floor or in this area, they need a blah, blah, blah toner, throw it on the cart. We're already going to be up there. Let's deliver. It was actually very, very efficiently designed.
Yeah.
Wasn't very efficient. It would take days sometimes to get toner, right?
Yes.
And so they wanted to encourage people to put it into the portal and at least go give it a try. So they did a little head fake. If you called it in, it delayed the ticket, put it on hold for 2 days. If you put it in the portal, you got it right away. It took internal communication. How did you get that already? Well, I just went into the new portal and put it in.
Yep.
Oh, I called. Well, maybe it takes a minute. People were filling in the reasons on their own, and then all of a sudden they started getting portal action. Like, oh, I can request a new mouse. I can look at all the things I can do, and they saw their numbers start to peak up really, really quickly. And so it becomes just so many different things that can impact that. So I'm looking forward. I think we're going to have a great time down in Orlando. It's always a fun time. I always like to see everybody's smiling faces. And just the things that they're going to be able to walk out of there having learned to be a better service desk manager, or how to be a service desk manager.
One of the things I really enjoyed with the conference as well, Mike, and you and I both, we've been in service management for a while now. I still learn something. Invariably, right? Invariably, because I enjoy sharing my knowledge, but invariably, there's that one or two sessions that I sit in and wow, I hadn't thought about it that way. Or wow, that's an interesting insight. And so I'm going to put my plug in, right? If you're on the fence about heading to the conference, it's in Orlando. Yeah, there's other distractions down there, but I tell you, just the learning experience that this particular conference delivers is second to none. And so I don't come because I'm there. Come because Mike's there, but it's a great learning experience. And to your point, I like the face-to-face interactions. It's too bad that maybe the pendulum's gone a little bit too far this way. But I get it. I understand it happens. But I really enjoy this conference for that reason.
Absolutely. Well, and as they'll see on this post on social media, you'll see both our smiling faces, and also you'll see a little discount code in there too.
That's right. There is a discount coming with this. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So for watching this, and putting up with a couple of old guys talking about fun stuff, you get a little discount code. Come on down. I'll buy you a drink at one of the receptions. It's all good.
There's
We're
an
going to tell
offer
them
you
any
can't
secrets.
refuse right there,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. But it's always a lot of fun. It's always neat to see what everyone's doing. And like you said, being able to sit in one of these sessions and get a new story from a new perspective. Because there's always another way to solve that problem.
Yep.
Maybe that's the one that works in a particular organization. So it'd be a lot of fun. Doug, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to see you. I
My
look forward
pleasure.
to more of these chats as we kind of get this thing rolling. But definitely join us down in Orlando. Details are in the post. And we look forward to seeing you at Service Management World 2023. Take care, everyone.